G'day punters, welcome to the Sydney Review Show. We'll be splitting up the shows here at the Mailbag for the next few weeks, just obviously with the better horses back and a lot of the feature races coming up. We thought it was time to just get the action back into the full swing of things. I'll start with Mark Shean. It was a pretty decent card there at Randwick. It was obviously very wet in the first part of the card, but overall, seemingly the right horses won, or at least the market fancies in that point of view, won on the day.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people lobbed onto the wet trackers or tried to. Track was probably a little bit worse, I thought, than the reading early on, especially. And the rain sort of stopped about race 4, so time should be comparable from that point on.
Yeah, exactly right. Mark Rhoden, you probably didn't want to be too far back the way that the day unfolded.
No, and not near the rail either. They were the two keys to the pattern, I'd suggest, yep.
And Rob Scurry, you've had a really good day seeing them, but you're still probably not quite recovered from Saturday.
Oh, thank goodness for the CS Hayes down in Melbourne, which was a fantastic result. Old Japanese bred Tagaloa beating the Mailbag horse, but, I couldn't leave that race alone. But, yeah, look, I haven't backed a couple of my horses here in the first couple of races, and you get that sinking feeling when you've tipped really well early on. You're going, how many winners can I tip in a day? I guess I shouldn't. But yeah, so I didn't back a couple of my horses. I did back a new my horse in Masked Crusader. I'm claiming him as mine. It's my first bet on him, and he's won. And we did take him on with first up last time, if you remember, with the well, help me out here. Does it starting with V? For Godolphin, but Varna, beat it. So I'm now claiming him as mine. But it was great day out there. The only race I'm really dirty on myself about is the fillies. I think they're a weak bunch, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, exactly right. We'll take a look at races 2, 4, and then through the quaddie leagues as well. But we'll start with the 2-year-olds over the 1100. Stay Inside was obviously the relatively dominant favourite. Did drift out a little bit there late. They've run an even tempo for the class on the punting form data. It's produced another good figure. Rob, run us through what these 2-year-olds look like.
Stay Inside clearly on top, found him. But the question was, after backing him at $10 last start, and what I'm not comfortable on this price range, this sort of even money unloadies. But I found him from the 14, the wet track type for Godolphin, Vianello. After that, I thought it was pretty average bunch, really. But yeah, Stay Inside clearly on top. Just as I was speaking to Mr. Rhoden, he just flopped his cock out a little bit, just as he's about to go out in the tunnel. If I didn't see that, maybe it was the 5-unit unload. But I just what can you do? Is it a good sign? It's not. I remember seeing Flying Spur do that in 1995 before his first start, and I think he couldn't win. But it's some of these good 2-year-olds seem to be able to bone up before they race, and it's fine.
And there he was, pretty dominant there in the end, maybe just asserting just exactly that over the rest of them. Mark Shean, how good do you think this Stay Inside could be compared with some of the other 2-year-olds?
Well, I think he's slipper quality for sure. He's got early speed, and I like the way that he relaxed as soon as the rider gave him a tug back in behind the field. He relaxed beautifully and then showed great acceleration. So looking at the times against Profiteer the week before, I think this was a worse track on Saturday, and he's run a fairly comparable time and was eased down the last 100 metres. So he's right in slipper calculations for mine, and he's proven that he can handle the wet as well.
Yeah, exactly right. Are you giving a chance to, or are you giving an upside to anything else, I should say, in the out of the beaten brigade?
Well, as Rob indicated, Vianello's only a very light type and probably suited in the wet. She probably should have finished a bit closer. She had some traffic problems there. King of Sparta, not a wet track type. He's another one who's still a bit colty. Headliner didn't seem to get through the ground. So, no, I think all on it, certainly with the winner.
Yep. And Mark Rhoden, we've seen 2 good figures from this horse so far. We're starting to see a lot more of these 2-year-olds posting, above average figures overall. Where are you putting this guy in the scheme of things in Sydney?
Right up there with Enthar. I'm just looking at the slipper market this morning. Profiteer's slipper favourite now, which puzzles me. I'd certainly have Stay Inside ahead of him. Enthar, of course, is going for the diamond first, which makes the path to the slipper that much harder. That's a very hard double to pull off these days. having to pick twice. I would have, I mean, if Property is actually ruling favourite in slipper betting, I would have stay inside favourite. I think he does everything right. He can run time, and he can take up a position, but doesn't have to lead. He's by no means a speedy squib. He did all his stuff in the second half of the race on Saturday after travelling well. He's custom made for it, I think.
Certainly doesn't look like a speedy squib. He's got presence.
Good little push there for stay inside. Look, we'll jump to race 4, which obviously had a reasonably short favourite with Tallier there. But the main reason I wanted to touch on this race is probably the runners-up, because one of them is a bit of a show favourite here in Ice Bath. But overall, they've gone slow for the class, 2.5 lengths slow to the 600. Tallier's only really just been able to grind out a victory here. Rob, give us you did give a bit of a yard push for a couple of the beaten brigade. Just run us through your thoughts there.
Well, I said the winner looked like it had trained on. It looked very, very hard to beat, but the price just seemed, ridiculous. I was half blowing up when Uncle Chris scratched his 2 out of the race. The track wasn't called heavy, and he scratched his horses, half an hour out from the race, and I was just gonna. I was in the back of my mind, I wanted to back Ice Bath if she looked like she did, and she looked much better than Shean will back me up here. She looked much more forward than she did last time, and Tricky Gal, she when I saw that she was first up, she had to be a play. She looked really perfect wet track type, looked trained up. So I thought both these horses had a good chance of beating Tallier, and halfway up the straight, I was thinking we'd come on one here, and unfortunately not. Reelamin Ruby's come back pretty well. She's a bit of a wet type. So, dirty here. Found the first 4, lost on the race. Wanted to back Ice Bath the place. What am I doing?
Mark Shean, what did you think of Ice Bath first up?
I think just the 4 kilos that she had to give away told the last little bit. She did parade a lot better than last time in. She looks a lot better in the coat. So she looks to be in a good frame of mind at the moment. Tricky Gal was certainly the run of the race. Just got into an awful spot the way the pattern of the race turned out, and maybe with a better run she might have turned the tables on the winner.
Yep, that's what it did look like, didn't it, Mark Rhoden? I think you played the same as Rob with smaller bets on Tricky Gal and Ice Bath.
That's right. Yeah, I'm interested to hear you say that Tallier was reasonably short. 3's on is more than reasonably short. But she didn't win like I didn't. I couldn't make a 3's on in a million years. I'd have those same 2 bets 100 times out of 100 if I'd given the chance again. And Tricky Gal, she jumped really well. But Rachel was just a victim of circumstances. There was nowhere to slot in. She obviously didn't want to lead or anything, and she ended up having to go back, and fought wide. Great run, any luck at all, probably just about wins. So, anyway, no, I'm not, lost on the race, but could sleep very soundly with my decision-making there.
Okay, let's have a look at this quaddie, because the first leg was won by Masked Crusader, and he has produced the best figure on the punting form data. I must say it's not by a great deal. It's quite a compressed top end of in terms of the overall performances there on Saturday, but a very slow race for the class, 5 lengths slow to the 600. Rob, more than anything, how did Masked Crusader look first up this preparation compared with last prep?
Much better. You might recall I was a bit scathing on him first up. That stable's got a bit of a habit of producing horses like that first up, but they always seem to find the mark. This guy's gone under so many times last time in, but I think he's going to make it this time in. He definitely looks short of run, but he kind of oozes a bit of quality the way he walks around. He's got that panther walk. He's not big, he's not small, but he's a real mover. The second horse, Southern Lad, couldn't be any better for him. He had the wet track that suits, so he's had every conditions. He traded really short in the straight, and the way that the Masked Crusader picked him up, I didn't know if he was going to pick him up 300 out, but he made it look very easy. Other than that, we've got Gem Songs come back, well enough here. Victorian, pretty much underdone. He's a podgy type, and he can certainly improve.
Mark Shean, this winner, Masked Crusaders, obviously, as Rob pointed out, gone under a few times last preparation, but he has returned with his overall career personal best on punting forms data. How did you think, or what did you rate of the performance here on Saturday?
Well, he's usually always raced well first up. He's first starting a race at Wyong. He should have won. He then won first up, I think, at Bendigo. Narrowly beaten first up last time in. So he's got a reasonably good first up record. I've always thought he was a group horse, but he hasn't really shown it to this stage. Been a little bit inconsistent, although he did have a bit of luck, bad luck, I should say, at Rosehill last time in and was flattened off that. I think he could go to another level this time in. I think Rob's on the right track with that. Away from that, Gem Song looked pretty trained up for a horse been off the scene for a while. It's had a suspensory problem, which is always a bit of a worry, but he ran well first up, but I think certainly the winner, the one to follow.
Yeah, Mark Rhoden, you had a small bet on Gem Song as well. I thought it was pretty good going through the line.
Yeah, good run. Could have left the race alone. I had put he was a horse I marked down before the race. I wanted to hear what Rob said, and Rob was positive about him, so I was happy to have a small bet on him. And certainly not disappointed with the run, but he was never going to win. The winner has gone really well. I think the Newmarket is on the agenda in 3 weeks, which is they're entitled to have a crack at that. That's going to be a hot race by the look of it. September Run's favourite, I think, but that's going to be a hot field. But they're entitled to have a go at it. I think could go to that next level this prep for sure.
Yep, be interesting to see how he goes in a straight line. Yet to race at Flemington so far, Masked Crusader. If we jump to race 7 on the card, it was the Apollo Stakes, the Group 2 over 1400, and again, full of wet trackers, full of decent horses first up, but they've gone very slow. They've gone 10 lengths slow to the 600, so they've basically walked and they've sprinted home, and Colette's found her way in front and done it pretty comfortably in the end. Rob, you've got head and hands. Run us through the yard.
Look, Colette is my old man's favourite horse, and I called him before the race. Said, look, she looks really forward, really well. So if you can back her, I guess you can. But I don't know how she's won over 1400 with no blinkers. Settling so close. You just said that it was a slowly run race, so I guess she doesn't have to show as much speed. I've backed Very Elegant, who was a $6 chance as soon as the gates opened. Couldn't win. It was awful. And then she's got her head up. I think her last 50 metres is the best of the race. Colding, as always, perfect wallet, just presents and looks great. Fun Star seems to have put on a bit of condition here. I think she could be in for a decent prep. She still does get does unwallow things. Like she still does get a bit hot, in between the legs and stuff, which is not normal for that stable. Mugger2's also trained up. I've seen him a few times first up, and obviously they do have that big race in All-Star Mile race in mind for him, hoping to get a start there because he looks ready to go. But they've all run home as well as they could off a very slow pace, and I think Very Elegant is our best weight for age horse in Australia.
Okay, so if I had to ask you which of those horses you saw parade in this race, out of a lot of them going forward for this preparation, who do you think is in for the best prep?
I'd say the 2 mares, Colette and Very Elegant. But yeah, Very Elegant. She was half a run short. She wasn't as good as she was when she won first up. But I just maybe I've just one of my horses sucked in.
Mark Shean, how are you dissecting the Apollo?
Yeah, it was a bit of a nothing race. I think just Colette lobbed into the right spot just on the leaders back there in a slowly run race. She's obviously a very good wet tracker. She was well below these horses on dry tracks last preparation. Obviously, she came through and knocked us all off there when we were on ice bath in the big race. Look, she showed great acceleration there. Colding was there to win, but he just floundered when the rider gave him his head there up the rise. I thought Mugger2 looked very forward compared to last preparation and hit the line quite well, and Very Elegant, obviously not suited by this tempo. She got a fast tempo first up at Randwick last time in and was able to win off that, and she's run into a slow tempo here and she did plenty wrong.
Yep. Mark Rhoden, you've found something there on Colette on Saturday, which is nice little work by yourself. The odds were very tasty in the end, but can we do anything with this race going forward?
Well, you just have to treat the horses on their merits. Very Elegant's done enough, unsuited. She missed the start. He kicked her up to try and get some sort of position. Then she started over racing that old trait of hers and getting her head up a bit. Colette was a 3-1 chance after they'd gone 200 metres. I couldn't believe how close she was and how well she was travelling in such a soft pace. And I was on very good terms with myself throughout the race because of that. I think I'm interested to know what they're going to do with Colette, because I would think, looking at this win on Saturday and her Golden Eagle win in this distance range on wet tracks, that's I'd be setting her for the Doncaster, because there's every chance you'll get a wet track on Doncaster Day and at 1,600 metres. She's head of the all-in betting for the Sydney Cup. I mean, I know she was a Dominant Oaks winner at 3, but I think as an older mare, as a 4-year-old, I would much prefer her in this distance range, only up to 1,600. She won't always settle that close, but she can, settle midfield and has a turn of foot. That's, what you need to win those sort of big mile races. So that's the way I'd be going with her. I think she's also in the Queen Elizabeth. I wouldn't back her to be very elegant at 2,000 metres, deeper in the prep. As for the rest of them, Colding just is what he is. Funstar should be retired, I'd say. And
well, she's not a weight for age horse, is she?
No, she's not. She beat up her own age and sex as a 3-year-old and hasn't really. I mean, she ran really well in the Epsom in the spring. That was it. But apart from that, her form's been mixed at best.
She beat up Probabil on wet tracks too. Probabil, never didn't get the chance to beat her because she should have. So I was on her. Just moral victory there. Probabil was the better filly.
Yeah. And she's not far up either.
She's honest.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I know it was very difficult trying to work out where Colette was going last prep. There was a few different nominations thrown out there, but always a horse that's I've had plenty of time for. So I agree with that sentiment there, Mark Rhoden. Race 8 was the light fingers for the 3-year-old fillies. And they've gone fast here for the class, 4 lengths fast to the 600 on Punting Form's data, and Every Rose has won at big odds. Rob, now you wanted to mention the 3-year-old fillies earlier. Run us through this field, because there's plenty going on.
Look, the Toppy away game, she's no longer a dominant type compared to her own sex. So I was that got me in. That's made me want to have a bet in the race, because I didn't think she was a 6-4 chance. She's run well. She might continue to run well, but I just can't see her. She's a borderline champion 2-year-old, but 3-year-old she's going to struggle. The winner looked underdone to me. Probably the horse to follow out of the race. These races generally do hold their form in terms of the winners win again when the place getters run again. The second horse is a trained up wet tracker. Gave it a chance on the day, the way the track was racing, but I can't have it. Eliza Beale is one of mine. I've never been able to get anything out of her, but she's come back heavy again and just about the best type in the field to my eye. Everyone wants to get to know about Hungry Heart. Coat looked pretty good, but just underdone again. So she's going to improve, but she can't keep starting $4 every start. Dermosphere looked trained up almost. I think I sent her out on top. She looked the pick of them to me. And the other thing, Nikki's Fling I sent out on top, which I might have overestimated. But I've just watched the replay. It didn't have the best of run, kind of half slow away and banging into other horses. That might surprise. We've got 4 lengths between Nikki's Fling and the winner. This is the weakest group of fillies I've seen in years, and I'm talking about Eliza Beale and Nikki's Fling as ones to follow along with the winner.
Okay. Mark, Shean, what are your thoughts coming out of the light fingers?
Well, I'd be bringing anything from New Zealand or interstate to take them on, because they're a pretty average bunch. So look, I agree with Rob. Every Rose trialled really well going into this, but she had a query at 1,200, a query in the wet, and she looked probably 3/4 fit at best, and she's gone 100 mile an hour in front and still held them off. So doesn't say much for the ones behind. I think Eliza Beale is the big improver. Good type, doesn't like the wet, normally improves 2nd or 3rd up for sure. Away from that, Hungry Heart. Didn't grab me in the coat actually, but I've had enough of her. And I think Thermosphere was probably ridden upside down. Could have been a better run ridden back, but I think Eliza Beale the one to follow.
Mark Rhoden, the overall figure coming out of this race isn't too bad, but that's probably more just due to the fact they actually ran a fast tempo compared with a lot of the other races on the day.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, that it's probably a flattering figure. Yeah, this is where the day started to take a rather sickening turn for me. I was on, among others, Never Talk. A really good race. That's her racing style, though. We knew what we were getting going into this race. She was going to be a long way back. And the winner I fully expected the winner to come back to them. It had carved out that fast tempo we mentioned on soft ground. I've never had much of an opinion of her. I thought she'd stop for sure, and she's managed to kick and hold on and hold us out, unfortunately. But totally agree with everything that's been said about the overall quality of this group. There basically isn't any.
Okay. We'll wait to see if some of those smart Tiakau winners from Saturday come across the ditch at some stage in the next few months. Race 9 on the card, another slowly run race. They've gone 3.2 lengths slow to the 600. And Poetic Charm has held off Academy and Thy Kingdom Come. Rob, did you think of anything out of these horses in the last?
I was pretty sure it was out of the first three who finished across the line, and I've risked Academy. He's a horse that's killed me. He's never been one of mine. I just thought, if I jump on him now, I'm going to walk out sick. Remember, Ice Bath didn't with Bossy that day, didn't quite get there.
Yep.
Thy Kingdom Come, I was going for a big result on that. Just a little bit, race a little bit ungenerously. If we just relax a little bit, I think it wins. And Poetic Charmer is he's had his birthday here. He's got the perfect run. I think we're on him first up. I had a small saver on him just because I thought it was such a, I don't have much of an opinion of Rocket Clock, and I just thought the winner was out of 1, 2, or 3. Can we follow anything here? Look, Academy will probably run well again. I think Thy Kingdom Come might have missed his chance.
Mark Shean, can we follow anything coming out of this race?
Well, I think Academy had all favours in front, but I think he's much better on top of the ground. His wet form to me is a little bit dicey. He was run down, I think, behind Poetic Charmer one day there at Rose Hill when he had the race won, and he can't accelerate in the ground like he can on top of the ground. I think this race certainly fell into Poetic Charmer's hands with all the scratchings and the draw when he got up into the box seat. Well, he was going to be hard to beat from there because he was probably the best wet tracker in the race.
Yeah. And Mark Rhoden, your thoughts just to summarise race 9?
Yeah, painful again for me. I like Rob, thought it was a race in 3. And they finished 1, 2, 3. And I decided to leave one out, and that was Poetic Charmer, because I just had in my head that from that gate he might be backing inside, which wasn't the place to be. And again, after a couple of 100 metres when he was up that close, I mean, of course, he was nearest fence. He was always going to be, but he was... When he was as close as he was, I knew he was certainly going to be in the finish, and I was watching through my fingers after that. Did think Academy had done enough. He kicked clear, and I thought he was going to hold on. And last ride or two, he was caught. But yeah, nothing really wrong with my analysis of the race apart from what I thought the map would be. But unfortunately, no result. But yeah, they're just a benchmark group of horses. They are what they are. They'll turn up where they turn up. Nothing to get really excited about, I wouldn't think.
Okay. So a lot to take out of Saturday's meeting at Randwick. Rob, a couple of horses to follow from the card overall.
So I'm going to, in the fillies race, Eliza Beale, good to get Mark Shean's backing me up on that one. Colette and Very Elegant can only run well wherever they go, and Masked Crusader, my new favourite horse. Okay,
Mark Shean, horses to follow for yourself.
Yeah, with Eliza Beale, we did bag this group of fillies, and she's probably going to go through the series, but she'll be better. Well, hopefully we get a bit more dry weather, although a bit of predicted showers through the week. But the week after, when they go to 1,400 metres, might be a bit more upper rally. Stay Inside, I think, at this stage is a great price for the slip, around $10 or $11. And apart from that, no, nothing from the day. We had a good set of trials through the week, though. So I'll be interested to see some of those horses come through in the next couple of weeks. Remark not going to the Silver Slipper has got a temperature and had to be treated, they said. So that's an interesting horse who will miss out on the Silver Slipper this week.
Okay. And Mark Rhoden, a couple of horses to follow for yourself.
Yeah, Stay Inside's the obvious one. Won't be dropping off the 2 mares I backed, Tricky Gull and Ice Bath. And in the stayers, Total Forgive to Kiss the Bride for me. They've gone... It and the leader, the thing from Canberra, went far too hard for a 2,400 metre race of this class. And so it was no... I mean, Antilles has been beaten 100 metres. and Kiss the Bride fought on okay. So I'm going. I thought that was a reasonable race for him on Saturday, but he wasn't ridden very efficiently, and I'll be looking for him again over 2400 next time out.
I just don't know what's going on with that horse. He has paraded horrendously, hasn't he, Rob? The last couple of runs, there's something. He's looked awful in the coat. Just he's just looked off.
Which one? That? Which
one?
one? Antilles?
No. Kiss the Bride.
Oh yeah, Kiss the Bride. Yeah, I thought she looks as good as she has this time in on Saturday. But yeah, she doesn't. Her coat looks weird. You don't see many city horses parade like that. It's a hard race for me to talk about with Cart Fever winning. We had a big bet on that at Warwick Farm on a Wednesday. For God's sake.
Speaking of races ahead, we've got Kensington Wednesday, Newcastle Thursday, Canterbury Friday night, two to go, and then Rosehill there on Saturday, along with Newcastle. Rosehill, we've obviously got races like the Hobartville, the Silver Slipper, and the Millie Fox. Mark Shean, decent enough week ahead, but as you did say, there is some rain around. Do you think it will be too wet there by Saturday?
I think they're predicting a couple of mil every day showers, so I think we'll probably be working on an affected track somewhat. I don't think it'll be good.
Okay. Nonetheless, it'll be a fun week ahead. Rob, days for yourself on course at this stage? Just the Saturday at Rosehill, or will you find a way to
Yeah, well, we've got
Wednesday?
Kenzo. We might have a little look out there at the maidens, but we certainly won't be doing the whole lot.
And Mark Rhoden, just business as usual for yourself, 15 meetings or so, and no sleep.
Yeah. Full dance card from Wednesday on. Another Canterbury. Should point out, Canterbury is nothing to be scared of now. Ever since we savaged it, it's played perfectly. It's just, from a lifestyle point of view, don't like being up betting till 10 o'clock on Friday night and having to get up at 6:30 on Saturday and do it all again. So I will be glad to see the back of the Canterbury night meetings, but not for the reasons I might have given you 2 or 3 months ago.
Okay, that's good. Finishing on a positive note. Thank you to you all. We'll catch up on Thursday to preview the meeting from Rosehill. Until then, go well.
Yeah, boys.
Thanks a lot, guys.